Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes. Now, Richard Tice has been out and about in Scotland. It's the first real big push for the Caledonian vote by Reform. And he's saying, a lot of things. He's saying that Reform are likely to get around 20% of the vote. And if he's anywhere close to being right, that'll be a major worry for both the SNP and Labour. Now, the Tories are already expected to lose a lot of seats, so it won't really matter to the Tories too much who they lose them to. They know they're going to get rid. But for Labour and the SNP, that is a big, massive threat. Sarwar and Swinney will both be very worried about what Reform can do. Now, one of the big problems the SNP have got is, at the moment, they're still likely to be the biggest party. But if Reform do take that number of votes, it could well be that the SNP are not the biggest party. It could be Reform that scupper the SNP. And of course, the big problem the SNP have got is cash. They haven't got any. They've lost all that money from the short money from Parliament. Their membership is crashing. It's down to about 55,000, something like that. There's no corporate sponsorship. Now, of course, you've got Reform, which is sitting, I believe, somewhere around the figure of 220,000 people. And of course, this is only a Scottish-centric election in 2026. So Reform will have plenty of cash to splash. And they can go in, particularly, of course, in the areas where, the SNP vote is very small. That'll be their big target. But they can not only put a candidate in every seat, but they'll have the money for marketing that candidate in every seat. The SNP won't have that kind of funding. They may just about get a candidate in every seat, but there won't be the money to push them. And so there's going to be, I think, a very big nightmare scenario for the SNP. Now, realistically, Tice has said, he's got to be honest. He says he knows he's not going to take the Parliament. He's not going to own Holyrood. He says, but he will have a major seating allowance, is his words. He's going to have a block. And their plans have always been that they will work with anyone and everyone to oust the SNP in Scotland to ensure that the people of Scotland have a future and have growth and have better potential and much better services. And he says, and to remove all spending on independence and all that nonsense. So, Reform really do have a very good chance of, if not actually running Scotland, at least being massively influential within there. And he said he'll work with the Tories or he'll work with Labour. He'll work with anyone so long as it gets rid of the SNP. And so, yes, while Sarwar needs to be very worried, because undoubtedly seats will fall from Labour to Reform, the chances of Sarwar actually having a place in government are likely, highly likely. If Labour are second or third, and they can do their deal with Reform, who may be second or third, it depends which way round it is. It's likely Sarwar could be the next First Minister, with Reform backing him up, a lot of Reform policies in there. Or Reform would be the next, the next Scottish government working with Labour in the background. It depends all on the good people of Scotland and how they choose to cast their votes, of course. But anyone who isn't SNP or Green has got to be an absolute step forward for Scottish futures. Thanks very much. Bye.